flow this beautiful Sunday morning. It is the celebration of Diwali today for those who celebrate in that tradition, and I always love reading about and understanding more about the festival or the celebration of light. And it's just no matter what your spiritual inclination or traditions, it's a wonderful thing to celebrate the idea of light over darkness, good over evil. All of those themes come into the many traditions and heritage of Diwali, and it's lovely to read about if you don't know much about it. But maybe tonight light a candle and just think about some of those themes that you can bring into your own heart as well. So happy Diwali to any of those who might be celebrating. Today we are going to continue our focus on a particular pose, as we've been doing for the last couple of months. It's kind of coming up to the end of that series, but we've got a few more to do. And today what I thought we would do is look at some seated postures. So I actually have 3 different variations of seated postures, and so we'll be practicing and trying Sukhasana, which you may be taking right now. I can see that you are in Sukhasana. Sukhasana is also known as easy pose, or sort of just the gentle, easy seated posture with the legs crossed. And that one is usually pretty accessible for most people, but not always. So, we're all built in different ways. Our bodies all carry a history of what we've experienced in life in different ways. So even easy posture may not be completely easy or relaxed for all of us, but we're going to look at easy posture or Sukhasana. We're also going to look at a variation of that called Adept's Pose, which is another seated posture, a little bit more wider opening in the hips. And then we might even play around with a variation of Lotus Pose, which is yet again another seated posture. And what all of these have in common is the thread that they are primarily considered poses for meditation. So they just, they have various differences in terms of what they're asking us to do with the hips and the legs, and that's what we're going to look at, the mechanics of them, as we practice a little bit more into today. But they are all meditation poses. They're all considered poses that you should be able to find some ease and really settle down in order to quiet the mind. This is where the ancient practice of yoga began, was as a meditation practice. And so the postures that we know today were meant to be postures that gave the body ease and allowed all of the distractions to melt away so that we could become one with mind, body, and soul. So in today, we're not going to actually sit in Sukhasana to begin. I'm going to have us lay down on the mat, and we are going to be doing some pretty good hip openers to prepare the body for what we're going to look at later. But I would ask that you have a couple of blankets nearby so that we can use a couple of yoga blankets a little later on. So go ahead and take a supine position on your mat. And we're going to let the body open up through a supine Baddha Konasana, or a lying down version of bound angle pose. So lying on your back, if you like, and you have those blankets, that I suggested you have nearby, you might want to bring one under each one of your knees. Maybe a block would feel better to have under the knees to let the legs open a little bit more gently, or you could just use a block by itself. If that's not required, if you feel just fine letting the legs open all by themselves, then you can just let the knees open, bring the soles of the feet together, and begin to relax down. Feel your back. evenly weighted. That is, both shoulder blades are equally placed level on the floor. Let your neck relax. Soften your shoulders down. And perhaps bring your hands to your lap. Just allowing the fingers to reach together, maybe the index fingers and the thumbs. And then begin to let the belly drop down. Softening everything down, start to bring your attention to the breath. I invite you to close your eyes. And on this beautiful celebration of light today, notice how the light from the outside world extends into and behind your closed eyelids. Notice the soft changing color palette. Maybe becoming aware of the different shades of color you're seeing. Perhaps it's red or orange, maybe flickers of blue or green. Light and dark dancing behind your eyelids. Just allowing yourself to get lost in the pattern, in the flow of light and movement. Slow down your breath. Allow yourself the experience of not having to worry about the next step. The next decision, the next activity. Let your mind release from worrying about where you're going and just experience where you are. Slow it all down. Notice any sensations as they arise in your hips, your belly, your pelvis, your knees. And try to soften and take the edge off of any harsh sensation that you feel by offering a sense of relief and relaxation. Letting go. Notice the rise and fall of your belly. Almost as if your breath is moving in and out of your lower extremities. And then allow that softness to roll up your body, waving over the neck, the chin, your face. Once again, bringing the awareness behind the eyelids. muscles of the eyelids relax. And let the eyes drop down deeply into the sockets. Embrace these few moments of quiet and stillness. And just experience your being right in this very moment. Slow, smooth breath in. Make this one bigger and more expansive than you have yet today. Exhale, let it out. Let your hands slide down beside your hips and lift your knees up, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. Roll back, taking a little bit of a pelvic tilt as the tailbone curls up, the pubic bone presses upward toward the sky. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Exhale and let the hips come down to a neutral position. Lift your right knee up. Take the right ankle and place it on top or just beyond the left thigh so that your ankle bone is releasing off of the side of your thigh instead of laying directly on it. Go ahead and flex your right foot. Taking a nice strong flex in the right foot. Lift the left knee. Take your hands behind your left thigh and slowly draw the left leg in toward your chest. Taking a little eye of the needle pose here. Breathing 3 times, inhaling, exhaling. Keep your shoulders relaxed, but keep pulling in through the left thigh. One more breath. Exhale, and then let the left foot come all the way down to the mat. And just create some circles with the right ankle. Keep the right foot on the thigh the way it was before, but just circle the foot around. Pointing and flexing and maybe even squeezing the foot to create a little fist. Just getting some mobility in the ankle. Bringing your arms into a T off the shoulder. We're just going to roll over onto the left thigh. So rolling the lower part of your body over on that left hip. And just feeling that nice, soothing little stretch on the outside of the right hip and gluteal muscle. Take a deep breath in. Relax the right leg. Let go of any engagement in the leg and just let it soften down. Roll back to center. Place the right foot down on the mat. Carry the left foot up. Cross your left ankle over on your right thigh. Same thing as before. Make sure that the ankle bone is clearing the thigh so your foot is sort of hanging off the side. And then go ahead and flex the left foot. Lift the right foot off the mat, pulling in that right leg towards your chest, just to the extent that you're going to feel that sensation of opening in the left hip. Again, eye of the needle. Several more breaths here, gently tugging in the right thigh towards your chest. Feeling just the right amount of sensation. Play around the edge, but never go beyond the edge, remembering that pain is never your friend. Only looking for deep sensation in the body. Bring the right foot down on the mat. Keep the left foot where it is and then create some circles with the ankle, just rolling it around, getting some mobility, pointing, flexing, circling. And then you can bring your arms back into a T off the shoulder. We're simply going to roll over on the right hip, guiding that left foot downward and then softening the top left leg, just allowing it to sort of drape down toward the floor. It probably won't come all the way down. That's okay. We just want to feel the stretch along the outside of the left hip. Breathe into any deep sensation that you experience and coax your body to release. Roll on back to center. Uncross your legs. We're going to go ahead and lift ourselves up so you can help yourself up with your arms, walking up, coming to a seated position. And then we're going to come to tabletop. So coming on up to tabletop position, we're going to do quite a bit of prep work to warm up the body and to open the hips before we really drop into the demonstration of our 3 poses today. So come on to tabletop position. Nice strong belly lifts you up, palms pressing down, extend through your spine, frontwards to back. Take a breath in, feel nice and strong and square. And then take a breath, inhale, let's take it to cow tilt. Just creating a little bit of flexion in that spine as we draw the chin forward. Remember, this is a back bending posture, so you really want to feel the arch of the back as the heart draws forward. The shoulder blades sink together. The upper back muscles are engaged. And then take it into a cat stretch the other direction. Let your head drop down, just be neutral. Arching up, pressing those upper back muscles toward the sky. Shoulder blades slide to the side of the body. Breath here. Nice. And then come back to table position. Keeping your nice strong tabletop, reach the right knee up and create some hip circles by drawing a big circle with your knee, nice and wide. Pretend as if your leg is a protractor and you could create the perfect 360-degree circle with your knee. We know that's not really possible, but just visualize the power of the body to follow the mind's visualization is amazing. So just create those circles, really engaging that right gluteal muscle now, getting a little work going in those glutes. And then you're going to take that right knee. The next time you bring it back, you're going to cross it over the left, coming into a little bit of a Gomukhasana variation. We're just going to press our hips backwards, almost like we would in a child's pose, but with the legs crossed, we get a very nice deep stretch as the hips rotate internally. Take a breath here, just pressing back. Deep inhale. Exhale. Feel the light surround your body today. And come on back up to hands and knees. Bring your knees back up under for tabletop. And we'll take that little stretch and exercise to the other side. So lifting your left knee up, slow, wide, perfect 360-degree circles. We're going to talk a lot about the hips today and how the hips work to help us in these seated postures. So think about that ball and socket joint in your hip and how much mobility is meant to be there. You may not feel it. It's okay. It's a process. We're going to help you open to the extent that is just right for your own body. That's what it's all about. So the next time you bring that leg around and down, let's cross the left knee behind the right. And once again, just press your hips backwards towards your heels and feel that sweet little stretch into that left gluteal muscle. Lower back, getting a little stretch here too. Deep breath in. Let the light surround your body today. And inhale, come on back up to hands and knees position. From tabletop, we're going to go ahead and sit back on the heels this time. Maybe taking a block if you need, bringing it back behind because we're going to take hero's pose for just a few breaths. So sit backwards so that you can sit with the tops of your feet straight down on the mat. So we want to make sure that the feet are not sickling out or in, but rather they're as straight as they can be with those toes pointing backwards. And then again, if you need or you prefer to have a support underneath your seat, take a block. But what we want to feel is the tops of the ankles getting a stretch here. Lift up, create a nice, beautiful column of light with your spine. Relax your shoulders down. Remembering that hero's pose too is a meditation pose. And so it's very important that we find a way to create this pose with ease. Okay, let's take one more breath here. Exhale. Come forward, come back to your hands and knees position, and swing your legs around. Bring them out front and come to a seated position on your mat. Once you've come into an extended leg position, we're going to flex both feet now. So we're taking those ankles the other way after that deep top foot stretch. We're going to stretch and flex both feet. See if it's possible to stretch your toes directly upward with your foot in a flexed position. A lot of times we put so much effort into that flexion that we curl those toes back toward the body. But just for a little bit of an exercise in control and discipline, see if you could press your toes directly up instead of curling them back towards you. Mind over matter. Opening the toes wide, maybe even creating a little space between the toes. If you find this difficult, it's okay. It's a process. All right, relax the legs from here. Slide the left foot back toward the inner thigh. Let the left knee drop out to the side, or if you wish, you could place a blanket just underneath that knee. We're coming into Janu Sirsasana, head to the knee pose. Pressing down, feeling your sits bones planted down into the mat. If you don't feel them planted, then slightly rock forward so that you can feel that bony structure of the pelvis really supported into the mat. Lifting up, draw the arms up and overhead. Let's get a little arm stretch here, reaching the fingers upward, grabbing hold of that beautiful sun today. And then exhale, hinge forward, gently letting your lower back stretch forward and the belly begins to drop down towards your thigh. Hands can reach on either side of your front foot. Maybe the forearms come down, maybe you don't get quite that far, it's okay. Breathe here. We're going to take 5 breaths. So there's 1, 2, keep it going. Left hip is nice and open, dropping out to the side. Breathe into your pelvis and let your weight fall forward. Last breath here. Inhale, begin to come all the way back up, and we're going to take that stretch to the other side. Left leg is going to extend, right leg draws up, right foot into the inner left thigh, right knee drops open. Hip is nice and open on that side. Again, a blanket is always fine if you need a little bit more support, if that makes it feel better. Lift up, find those sitting bones once again. Arms reach up and over, carry the energy upward, and then exhale, hinge forward, slowly reaching your hands toward the front and letting your belly drape down, reaching your left thigh, carrying you forward in your fold. Each time you reach a stopping point, each time you reach a point of resistance, inhale deeply, exhale, and release the resistance from the body. Exhaling and feeling the light surround you today. Inhale, come all the way back up to the top. Bring your legs back up underneath you. Let's come to downward facing dog. And get the body a little bit more warmed up now that we've had some of those deep, yummy stretches. So let's lift those knees up off of the mat. Press your hips up and back. Lengthen through your spine. Gaze between your feet. Let your head relax. Let your neck be easy and soft. Deep breath in. Carry the energy up and down the spine. So good. And then we're going to bring the right leg forward into a lunging position. So slide it or swing it or come to tabletop and bring it in 2 steps. Just come to a runner's lunge with your head reaching forward, left leg reaching back. Deep breath in, lengthen through your spine, look forward. And then slowly let that left knee descend down to the mat. On your next breath, carry yourself up by using those lower abdominals to reach in, cinch you together in the center, and then lift your arms up, coming to low lunge, low crescent. Open your heart, breathe. Take your right hand down by your side. Carry the left arm over your ear. Arch over with that left arm. Gazing down towards your right fingers and over your shoulder. Beautiful stretch all the way up through that left hip flexor. Bring both arms back up and then exhale, bring them down. Lift the left knee back up, drop the heel down, and then go ahead and lift up to warrior two, all the way up to a standing posture. Swing that left arm around, right arm reaching forward. Using those legs now for the first time, feeling them position, sink down into your foundation. Right hip is nice and open. Look down. Make sure you can see that first big toe on your right foot. If you can't, then externally rotate that thigh a little bit more so that you can see your toes. Inhale. Exhale. Pivot on the right foot. Come to 5-point star. Take the hands to your waist and fold forward in wide leg forward fold. Letting the head drop down. Hands reach the floor. Inhale, lift up to fingertips. Feel your inner thighs engage. And then exhale, fold forward again. Inhale, lift up. Hands come to waist. You're going to come all the way back up to a standing position. Turn those right toes toward the front and come right back to warrior two. From warrior two, let's transmute to triangle, straightening the right leg. Left hip pushes back, right arm reaches forward, reaching, extending, and then coming down to triangle. Right hand comes to the mat, your block, or the shin. Nice deep breath in. Exhale. Beautiful. Come back up all the way. One more warrior two. Breath in. Breath out. Take the left arm around. Carry it back down to the mat. Come back to low lunge position. Step the left foot forward. Come to forward fold, Uttanasana. Deep breath lifts you halfway up, lengthen through your spine. Exhale, fold forward again. Inhale, root down as you rise all the way up. Lift the arms to that beautiful sun. And then exhale, fold forward and down again. Step it back to downward facing dog. So walk your feet backwards. Nice, stretchy. Feel your spine extend. Pressing those hips way up to the ceiling and pushing your thighs toward the back of the mat. Deep breath in. Exhale. Left leg is going to come forward for the lunge, so bring it up to the front of the mat. Any way you get there is fine. Take your time. Firm your foundation. Lengthen, look forward. Right thigh lifts up. Deep breath. Exhale, and then slowly let the right knee descend down. Let it touch down on the mat. And then inhale, pull energy into the center as you lift up for low crescent. Breathe, open your heart. Right hip flexor nice and stretched. Left hand comes down by your side, fingers reaching down. Right arm crosses over the ear, taking a little side stretch here. Opening those right ribs, but dropping the left shoulder and fingers down. Gaze down toward that hand. Lift the left arm back up. Inhale. Exhale. Hands come back down to the mat. Lift the right knee up. Drop the heel down. We're going to lift up to warrior two, opening to the other side this time. Nice strong warrior legs. Feel into your position. Relax those shoulders. Feel your weight equally from front to back. And breathe. Beautiful. From warrior, go ahead and straighten the left knee. Pivot on your foot. Come to 5-point star initially, and then hands are going to come to your waist as you fold forward. With a flat back, let the head descend down with wide legs. Hands touch down on the floor, and then inhale, straighten and lengthen. Exhale and fold once again. Inhale, hands come to waist, lift it back up, all the way to the top. Arms come out to star. Turn your left toes forward again. Dip back into that front knee and come to warrior two. One more warrior. Inhale. Exhale. Straighten the left knee. Bring it into triangle. Reaching forward, and then rotating the arms down. Finding your extension in triangle. Heart is beautifully open to the right side. Gorgeous. One more time, lift it all the way back up. One more warrior two, dip into that front knee. And then carry the right arm around, cartwheel it down and take it back to the mat. Right foot steps forward, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale and fold. Inhale, lift all the way up, beautifully reaching up. Exhale, fold forward once again. Walk your feet behind you, step it back, and come on down to your seat. Press back into a child's pose, opening your knees nice and wide, and let your belly descend down between the knees. Take 3 breaths here. As you're ready, come on up to a seated position. Just lift yourself up. So, we're going to play around with a few variations of meditation postures or seated postures today. The first one is the one that we're most familiar with, and that for many of us, as I said at the beginning, is considered to be an easy pose. Well, what I'd like you to do today to prep for this is go ahead and take your yoga blanket, a typical fold on a yoga blanket. So if we talk about starting like this and then folding it like so, and then going ahead and folding it sort of so it's in a square. So instead of folding it again like this and making it long and narrow, fold it into more of a square. So you've got a pretty good, let's see if I can show this, pretty good base. It's not a true square, but it's a little bit more of a rectangle. So if you have 2 blankets, go ahead and do that with 2 blankets. If you only have 1, it's okay, just sit on the 1. But 2 blankets is going to give you even more support. And when we're talking about these postures as meditation postures, the whole point is to find a posture where you can have some true ease and not really worry about how the body's feeling. So if you can have 2 blankets on top, then that's even better. Now, I know it's getting really bright in here. I'm going to see if I can lower that, if that'll make any difference at all. Forgive me. I don't know if I can do this. It may not make a bit of difference, but maybe it'll help a little bit. All right, so in terms of the first variation, I'll turn towards you for now. Let's talk about Sukhasana. Sukhasana. Sukha means easy. Sukhor, easy. It's meant to be a very easy, pleasurable pose, and for many of us, it's the first posture we learned when we were kids in school, crisscross sitting with our peers. So Sukhasana is going to be the first variation, but as you can tell, we still have quite a bit of opening in the hips needed to open and let the feet come in toward the center. So in Sukhasana, we're still planting those sits bones down on the mat or on the support. In this case, we're using the blankets, because when I'm sitting on the blankets and I'm bringing my sits bones on those blankets, my hips are allowed to drop forward. So the rotation of that ball in the hip socket is allowed to drop forward. The pelvis slightly tilts forward, which helps to elevate the lower back, gives me better posture all the way around. So the blankets are a great help for many reasons, and even more so in the ones that we're going to try next. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on Sukhasana because most of us do this regularly and it's not a real problem. But I just want you to think about the anatomy and what's happening in Sukhasana as we take these to the next step. All right. So from Sukhasana, let's go ahead and here's might be an interesting thing. Just go ahead and change the crisscross. However you sat down the first time, switch it up. So for most of us, there's a natural inclination to cross one leg over the other. So if you think about that, and if you're sitting in crisscross yourself in Sukhasana at home or just for casually, maybe every so often change those legs up, provided that you have the same mobility. Change those legs up because it's good for the body to keep it balanced. All right, so we're going to move on to our next posture, which is called Siddhasana. Siddhasana, Siddhasana, which means it actually translates to perfect pose. It's sometimes called auspicious pose. It's sometimes also known as the pose of wisdom. So again, these are all things that have to do with a meditative state of mind and coming into meditation. So let's go ahead and just prep for that by doing the following. Bring your right foot forward. We're going to stay up on the blankets here. Bring your right foot forward with the leg just slightly bent. And then we're going to take that left foot and carry it over the right thigh. So if you can bend the leg, may not be, we're all going to have different levels of how far we can bring this leg in, but if you can bring the leg and sort of help support that left foot, bend the right leg, left foot is carried over. So now we've got it here. This is much like what we did when we started off and we did eye of the needle pose laying down. It's just a little bit more intense when we're sitting upwards because we've got gravity pulling us down here. So with this, we're going to take the hand underneath the left foot. So carry it underneath and around the left foot. And then we're going to take the left elbow around the knee. So I don't know if this is easier to show you looking this direction. Probably is. Left elbow around the knee. Right hand comes under and around the foot. So from here, find out if you can start to bring that leg a little further backwards without compromising your posture, your pain level. Of course, if you have any sort of pain, then we want to back off and don't go any further. But just find a place that feels pretty much maybe the edge of your ability here, the edge of your stretch. And then we're going to take the right elbow around that foot. And we're just going to start to rock the baby back and forth. So almost like you're cradling your left shin and foot in your arms. You're just going to gently rock it back and forth. And you're going to feel that pretty intensely in that left hip. So just breathe into it. If you're not feeling it intensely, maybe you want to bring that right knee back into a little bit more so that eventually you've got it almost up into your chest. If it's too much, then let it come down and don't take it quite so extreme, but just continue to feel that left hip opening up. All right. Okay, a couple more here. And then go ahead and bring it to stillness. So from here, we're going to actually take the right knee all the way down, almost like you were in Sukhasana, but you're going to keep holding on to that left leg. Then allow the left leg to come forward. You're going to take the sole of the foot and slowly turn it so that it's more or less facing up toward you. So instead of the sole of the foot facing off to the right, you're going to use a little bit of mobility in that ankle and bring the foot upwards. And then you're going to let that knee come all the way down in front. Let me turn towards you now because it'll make more sense. So we're going to bring that foot all the way down onto the mat. Now the difference here between Siddhasana and Sukhasana is that the legs aren't crossed necessarily. They're not crossing one on top of the other. But if you look down, essentially what you want to see is a straight line between your navel and the heel of the right foot and the heel of the left foot. So you could draw a line and your heels are right in the center of the groin and directly under the navel. Now, if this is too intense for you, if this is not compatible with your anatomy, then I would suggest that you just come back to Sukhasana in any sort of seated posture. Or you can work on this a little at a time. But this is called Siddhasana. It's also known as a depths pose. And what it's doing is it's opening and widening those hips a little bit more even than in Sukhasana. So you want to let, the reason that the blanket is helpful is, again, it's tilting forward on your pelvis. It's allowing your knees to drop down and to reach the floor. So you might even bring in another blanket at some time if this is not helping enough to kind of let the legs drop forward. So just take a breath. Relax down, relax your shoulders. And just for a moment, imagine yourself in a quiet place. And this is your meditated posture. Should be very calming and relaxing. And let's come out of this for a moment and make sure that we open up the other hip in the same manner because we want to keep things even. So go ahead and lift your legs up. This time we're going to bring the left foot forward, plant that foot down, lift your right leg, let that ankle come past the thigh, just as we did when we were laying down. Make sure that you've got some clearance with the ankle bone off of the thigh. Start sitting upwards, lifting up, and then bring your left hand under the foot. I don't want to grab it from the top. I want to grab it under so that you're slowly turning the sole of the foot a little bit more towards your body. And then cradle the leg with the crook of your right arm. Now decide how much you can scoot that left leg towards your body, bringing it up bringing it up, or maybe bringing it back down, depending on where you feel, you feel that it's sustainable for you. There's no right or wrong here. Just breathe now into that right hip. Remember, any intense feelings, any intense sensations, either back off a little bit or just use your breath to calm everything down. And then what you can do is take the crook of your left arm around that foot and just start to rock the baby back and forth. Again, tiny little movements. This is not anything extreme. This is just opening that right hip with a little bit of a gentle rocking movement. Breathing. One more breath. All right. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and let that left leg come down. Bring it down and under, almost like you're sitting just in regular cross-leg pose. Guide the heel toward the inner groin, and then let the right leg come down, guiding the right heel so that it's in line with the left. And again, you're turning the top of the foot down toward the floor. The soles of the feet are kind of peeking up toward you. So the important thing to remember here is that all of this is available through the openness of the hips. Okay? We are not twisting and turning the knees. We're not twisting and turning anything below the hip. This all is a function of allowing that ball of your hip joint to open and then allowing the pelvis to drop forward. So we'll just take a couple of breaths here in Adept's pose, Siddhasana. Wonderful. All right, so we are quickly running out of time. But because we're all the way here and we did such a good amount of prep for these hips, I want to go ahead and give this a try, at least to see if you can experience or try out half lotus. Okay? So starting with, turn towards you again. Let's just go ahead and leave the left leg down where it was, just like it was in Adept's pose. We're going to bring the right leg up once again. I guess if you're mirroring me, then I'll say this will be left. We'll do a mirror image here. So bring your left leg up again. Grab that left foot underneath. So in Lotus pose, we have the top foot on top of the opposite thigh instead of all the way down on the floor. So here's what's important to understand. So just watch for a second. The hip opens up to the side, okay? I can open my hip out nice and wide to the side. The knee, however, is a hinge joint. It goes forward and back. It does not torque or open to the side, or it shouldn't, except on a very limited basis. So that's why we want to protect the knee by having a nice open hip for these postures. So when you think about opening the hip out to the side, taking that left foot, opening the hip, we're going to close down the knee in its regular hinging action. And then we're simply going to guide the hip back forward and let the knee drop down. I don't know if that made sense. It's always hard when I don't have two-way communication through a video or a Zoom, but I make that point because the reason that a lot of people get in trouble with Lotus or half Lotus is that the first thing they want to do is grab the leg and yank open the knee, which just could probably make you cringe to think about. Yank open the knee and twist it around. But it all comes from the hip, all right? Our hips have a huge amount of mobility. Our knees do not. So if you want to give it a try and see where you are in your body, then just grab, that's not a very good word. Take your left foot up, take your right hand around, always grabbing underneath to turn that ankle, pointing your sole upward back into you. And then go ahead and just see how your hip mobility feels. That hip mobility, wow, there we go. We did a lot of opening with that hip. So with the hip nice and open, go ahead and think about hinging down with your knee, bringing the heel toward your body, but keep it at a hinge. Don't try to torque it upwards. Then take your left hand and simply guide your hip to face the forward. And then let the hip drop down. There you are. Look at you. And we're all going to be in different places. Look at you. Good job. Now, if this is still uncomfortable, if the knee doesn't come down, there's where you can bring a block underneath. Give yourself some support. Making sure that you're not feeling any pain, right? Okay, I want to see nods of no pain. Perfect. And guess what? You're in half lotus. Now, in this half lotus position, your heel is really inching toward the inner groin. So it's not the inner groin, it's inching toward the hip crease. It's not up here in the middle part of your thigh, but it's really reaching back. And remembering, again, it's all through the function of the hip. And once you've settled down, just take a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe and relax. And if we were in India 6,000 years ago, you could sit in this posture for hours and hours on end. And that is how we would do our meditation. All right. Open your eyes. Let's just try the other side, just so that we keep the body balanced. We're going to go over just a few minutes today, but it's worth it, I think. So this time, just let your left leg drop down in an easy folded position. We're going to take the right leg up. Left hand reaches up and around the foot. Go ahead and just play with the opening first. Let that hip joint get the understanding that we're opening it wide. And then once you've opened it into a nice wide position, let the hinge joint of the knee come forward. And then turn the pelvis from the hip and let the pelvis drop forward. And you can release the foot. That heel is right into the hip crease. And once again, you've come into half lotus on the other side. And essentially, if you do this right, it should actually be a very comfortable position, provided you don't have any, contraindications or injuries or anything like that that would make this not optimal for you. But if you've done all the prep work that we did in this practice, then you're probably okay to move into it, just as we are now. So now that we're here, let's close our eyes. Take a moment just for a little mini meditative moment. Think about the light surrounding us today on this beautiful celebration of light. Release our legs from the posture. Let's come off of the blankets and we'll spend just a couple of minutes lying back down, letting everything neutralize and release. Come into a traditional Shavasana. To feel grateful for these wonderful bodies and all that they do for us. And just feel the glow of light from your heart permeate your body, your environment. Connect with the light of all the others. Wipering your feet back and forth. Bringing your knees, gently hugging them into the chest. Taking a deep breath and coming back up. Meet together. arms into the light. Smile and embrace this beautiful day. And hold it all dearly to our hearts. The light in me is honored. The light in me is grateful and honors the light in you as well. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Om Shanti and Namaste. Thank you so much.